And we want to be mature and we want to be adults at the same time as we have this conversation, because, at the end of the day, when we in our car, just in our regular clothes, we all the same folks. You know what I mean? So, and with that being said, I want to introduce Officer JJ, Officer Jason Johnson. We have Officer Whitfield, and we have big brother and little brother. Officer Whitfield's on with us right now. And these guys were pretty much handpicked because I was looking for someone that we can have this conversation with. You know what I mean? And we can talk, and we could see how we can get past some of these ideologies that don't make sense. How we can, promote the career of law enforcement to our children in the community, and make it attractive. So, we can get past the saying that, don't nobody know us who coming into our hoods. Well, we can get these kids right out the houses right here in our hood. So, we want to make sure that, we have some kind of conclusiveness in what we're talking about. And I see, hold on, I think we have another. And we got the Freeman brothers on as well. Good morning to you two brothers. They're in the audience with you guys, and we got a lot of brothers on here, man. I like that. So we're gonna talk about some things. But I wanted to talk about well, I'll do that kind of like at the end. I'll kind of let you guys know what Officer Johnson has going on and what he's done and what he's doing in the community with the kids. He actually does a lot of work. I know him well over 13, 14 years. I don't know how long he's been working in the community or has been an officer, but I know he's been working in the community ever since I met him. And he does good work, consistent work. And he's the type of guy, as well as these other brothers, that, you can look at them and say, man, I could be a cop, because them dudes is cool. You know what I mean? Them dudes, they, just don't be dumb. Don't do things in front of them that you're not supposed to do. Don't make me do my job, buddy, because, it's my job. Be smart. But nevertheless, you can come and you can be a part of the team as well, and be a part of the healthy part of the team. So we don't have to ride around in fear all the time. So I'm gonna let Officer Johnson kind of introduce himself as well and talk about himself. And then maybe in about 10, 15 minutes after these guys talk about themselves, we can get into a little dialogue about, what we need to do. So Officer Johnson, it's on you, brother.
All right, right on, man. Appreciate you for having me on this joint. But yeah, I'm Officer JJ, Officer Jason Johnson. Everybody knows me as Officer JJ. Majority of my work is in the Bayview District. I've been a cop for 15 years, almost 16 now. Dang, it's been a minute. And initially, before, like growing up, I never wanted to be a cop. I actually hated cops growing up. And I met a gentleman by the name of Eric Washington, walking to him from the BART one day, who was a sergeant. And I actually wanted to be a sheriff. I wanted to apply for the sheriff department because I really wasn't with the whole police thing. And he kind of was talking to him. I guess he was a sheriff for a minute, and he kind of switched over. I was like, man, you're like it as, a cop better. And I'm like, nah, I'm cool. So I took the test for the sheriff department, and you needed, they had what they call a T-score back then. And you needed a 46, and I had a 45.8. And so I barely missed the joint. So it was good. And I had told him, he was like, man, just apply and see what can come out of it. And, I was a single father at the time with my daughter. And I'm like, man, all right, let me see what's up. So I just applied. And my whole thing was going through the academy, stack my checks. Before I graduated, I was going to bounce and invest my money and go on about my life. But going through the academy, I understood the position of authority that I was going to be in. And I had the ability to impact some lives. I didn't know to this magnitude that I'm doing now, but I knew I'd be able to help somebody. So I ended up sticking on, and it's just been.
We can't do this. I'm not going to judge you for it, kind of thing. but like, hey, look, there are choices in this world. We get held accountable for our choices. How can I help you learn to make a better choice? I'm not here to judge, but I am going to say, hey, look, you know, if you're going to do this, you got to be held accountable. That's all there is to it. And if I can help you along the way, I'm going to help you, because by the grace of God, there goes I, you know, and so I know that, and I think many of us in law enforcement, we know, you just look around and there's so many people that just, it's us and them mentality. And I look and I go, that just doesn't work for me. That's just not who I am. Can I be an agent of change in my own profession? Do I have the courage to stand alone and do what I know that is best? Or am I going to be peer pressured into being a certain way? And because of who I am, I've always been able to kind of just march to my own tune, do my own thing. Has it been easy at times? No. But I have great passion for the community. And I just feel, I just get a lot of stuff. I just get it. You know, even though it's not the same path, I've always got it. And I just look and I go, throughout my career, I've always looked and I go, how are we going to have these conversations, these real conversations? And no matter what, the messenger is a huge part of that conversation. Whether or not a conversation ever gets heard, so often is because of the messenger. Who's delivering it? And I look back in life and I go, one of the greatest people in my lifetime that you never looked at their race or anything, and you always looked at them as just the greatest. And that was Muhammad Ali to start with. You never looked at Muhammad Ali as the greatest African-American boxer. You always looked at Muhammad Ali as the greatest boxer. He transcended that. He could go into any community and be Ali, the greatest boxer. And how do we find those people in our culture, in our communities, that can have that conversation, that can bring people together, that people just stop looking at who they are and acknowledge them as the person. And I know that's kind of long-winded, but it's just kind of like, I've always just been very comfortable. The community has been a very comfortable place for me to be. It's always connected with me because of my upbringing and stuff. So.
Okay. Thank you for that. And I know we all can relate if we all come from some kinds of life pain or disparities, or, you know, any kind of, you know, when you grow out of something, you kind of like have a certain love and respect for folks who kind of grow up similar. So, hey, Dr. Katabazi, good to see you, man. And we have them to be the field trip leaders, to hold our hands across the street. Then we're susceptible to anything that they want. So we have our own responsibility. You right, as far as, you know, their responsibility to better policing, right? And I think Officer JJ was talking about that when he talks about his involvement with the community. You can police better when you understand the dynamics or perspectives of people. The same thing Knoble was talking about. You got to get to know the people. You got to get to know who you're working with. So, you know, you're right, but just to be fair to them, you know what I mean? They're not responsible for our behavior.
Right. No, not. I wasn't saying for our behavior, but when we talk about the academy and how long I've been to these academies, they get a few weeks, Craig, and they put in our community. I've been telling Chief Scott, these officers that y'all putting in Bayview, they need to go at least 6 months in our community. You know what I'm saying? Without no badge and gun, and get to know the people in the community, because these are the hot spots that they got to work on. So how do we get them in the community 6 months before they release to our community to engage, and they can know who Lil Pookie is, who Lil Ray Ray is, and who the community leaders is, to have a conversation? Go ahead, Brother Knoble.
Hey, John, I want to speak to your point. I think you're right on the money. When you brought up some things already, and one of the things is it is about the people that work in your community, and you can't just throw people into the community that aren't going to get it. If they cannot connect with the community, they can be subtraction by addition. It's great to have somebody out there, But if they're not in touch with what's best for the community, then they can create more problems than they can solve. And that is up to the department to identify that. That's where I'm saying you got to be proactive, not reactive. We should recognize that. They should also start recognizing the people who can do that. Go identify who can do that. It needs to be about the person. Let's just not pigeonhole people and say, you need to go to the Bayview, the Sunnydale, or wherever. That's our job to do that. And speaking to another point that you brought up, all you're asking of us is to police our own. If you had confidence that we are policing our own, then you can have the confidence that we're doing well and that it's going to be handled. And Craig, to your point, Craig, what you're saying is you should just lay out the expectations you have of the police officers in your community. It should be spelled out. These are our expectations. We are not there to raise the community. You should not be looking to us to raise the community. We can be involved. We can have an impact on that, but you can't be putting us in the position where we're responsible for that. And you should distance yourself from that, but you got to have expectations of us, and you have to hold us accountable for those expectations. And then you got to ask us to be a positive impact when we come into your community. If we're not doing that, then we're failing, as far as I'm concerned. We can't just keep cramming people into communities just for the sake of doing it to have a body there. We got to be better about that. So I applaud what you're doing, and I hope you just keep pushing, because you guys have come so far. I hope you look at yourselves and recognize how much you have done and how much you have moved this whole process forward, and I applaud you for it.
Straight up.
Can I say something real quick? Because I'm witnessing.
Hold on, Dub. We had two in front of you. I know we getting tight.
Oh, okay.
I just want to give everybody a fair chance. Brother Mike, we can't hear you. Okay.
Mike having a session right now.
Oh, okay. Brian, do your thing.
Yeah, right on. Can y'all brothers hear me?
Yes, sir.
Yep.
Yeah, cool. Shout out my little cousin Alex on here, man. Shout out the twins. Good to see y'all brothers on here, man. So I had a couple of questions kind of rooted around data and how y'all use it. So for context, I'm on the board of directors of an organization called Healthy Black Families out of Berkeley. We do a lot of work trying to prevent, support babies on the path of wellness and Black families on the path of wellness. And we had a meeting last week, and some of the numbers was just astounding in terms of like figuring out ways to help Black babies be healthier and to mitigate risk later on. And like there's certain things that just stood out like crazy. And there's this concept of data where if you're not at the table, you're on the menu. And so my question to y'all is really two concepts around data is what data points do y'all see and know as a department, like if X happens, Z damn sure probably won't happen. Not 100%, but like drivers of an outcome. And then conversely, what are things that y'all see either through data or just anecdotally in your experience? If you have this positive result. So I'm trying to look at factors that drive our wellness, either for the better or for the worse.
I can tell you if you work in a community long enough, you can connect A to B. If you understand the community, you can connect A to B. If you look at the factors that drive, it's the environment. The environment drives the outcome, is for what I have seen. And oftentimes, when I look back over my career, and I'm just giving you my understanding of stuff, you can just see individuals who are not strong enough to be an individual, and they are going to go with where the environment takes them. And within that, you're going to have people that are just going to buy into it. It's the same thing in the police department or anything. You want to be different, you got to have courage and strength to be different. You want to lead, you got to have courage and strength to do that. Otherwise, you're going to get wrapped up in the environment. Going back to, hey, what do we do at the academy? 21 years old? That's too young, man. You're going to get wrapped up in the environment if you're not careful. You're not strong enough to be yourself. You're not strong enough to handle the peer pressure of you know what, hey, look, I got to speak up about this. I may make things bad for myself, but I got to say something, or I got to distance myself from this because that's not who I am. I got to walk my path, and maybe I can pull some people with me. You got to take these young kids that you identify that are going to make the environment worse, you have to identify them and say, hey, where are we going to move them? How do we get them out of this environment? Because not only will they go with the environment, if they're powerful enough, they will make it worse. And that's the same thing in our department. We got to identify it, clean our own house, step up and have the courage to go, look, you're making it worse for everybody. We got to do something about it. And I know that's easy for me to say. It takes courage to do that. These are complicated issues, but I have seen it repeated. One officer made an incredible, astute thing. He looks and he goes, I guarantee you go back and you look at the family trees. If you go back and
young child in the community. So again, I want to thank all of you guys, Officer JJ, Officer Knoble, both Officer Whitfields, the twins, the Freemans. Thank you very much for giving us this time. And, if there's anything that comes to your mind moving forward, if you want to bring something back to this platform and we discuss it, or you just want to be a part of what we got going on, or you want to turn people on to what we do, please do. You're always welcome. You're always invited. Thank you. As I always say to all the guys on the panel, I love y'all. I'm proud of y'all. Continue to be great. Continue to love on yourself. Each one, reach one, teach one. And as soon as we can, we'll reconvene. Officer Nobles, again, thank you. Brother Whitfield, thank you. Thank you for your transparency because, as we know, it ain't easy, but it's doable. So with that being said, man, brothers building brothers.
Peace and blessings, brethren. Peace and blessings. Yes, sir.
Peace.
Everybody have a safe day, man.
All right.
All right, peace out.
Peace.